Well, it's not just that. Oh, it's a little early.
Joel, I started the recording because it is 6 o'clock. So
I got it, yeah. Yeah, Otter wants to record too.
Catherine was dealing with internet, it's a IT, her IT, but she's on her way.
Good.
That was a couple minutes ago.
Mm-hmm. Started.
Yeah.
Great.
That's just she did.
Good thing. I know.
I know.
Well, that reminds me.
By the way, seeing older people, you have a thing, and you put it in all the time. But do you ever like forget your phone?
Yeah.
I forget my phone all the time.
And then what can you do without it?
Everything.
Like,
Like real life.
You have to like, no, well, I can't get a hold of me, they can't get a hold of me.
Kathy's like constantly, get your phone.
try to remember to take it with me.
Right, yeah, that's the thing.
I have a little sign on my door. I have two signs, one for pills and the other for phone.
What, take your pills?
Yeah,
Like that?
And
take it to, take it from.
medicine and phone.
First the day, man. Take my pills.
Okay, well, welcome to all you folks out in Zoom land. Charlie, who's here in person.
Wow, he's undercover, he's just got his glasses
He's
on.
pretending.
Yeah.
Pretending, yeah.
We can call the meeting to order. Well, wait, let me, oops, you get this, So, additions and deletions, there's one addition.
What's that, highway?
No, I'd like to talk about one role and responsibility.
What?
Role and responsibility.
Oh,
I can go down, I can look again. That was already-
Joel, is your mic on?
Yes, am I not close enough to it?
Thank you.
That. Yeah, anything else? Did you, I didn't put it on, but did you have anything from the committee on, the youth more on,
no,
no,
you gotta give her a couple days.
yeah, okay.
But, is Greg here? Or no?
No,
Okay,
the planner's report would have been on.
right,
But he asked me to move it to the next meeting because.
okay. Well, I wanted to, maybe we could even just mention, bringing up businesses on corner lots in the hamlet zones.
Yes, we could.
Okay, and the park people, was there anything on the park?
Yeah.
No,
I
okay.
got a response from the man saying in the old time.
Okay,
So I said, I'll take it off the agenda. And put it on-
okay, put it on next, okay. Information about the trail easement? Because the public hearing, well, the public hearing's next meeting.
Yes,
I have no information.
well, I sent you the draft of the easement.
Draft of the,
The easement text itself, the agreement with NICEAG.
hmm,
We have, in hand, as of today, I got, what Dryden used as a public hearing notice, needs to be reworked for Danby, but I got it.
right,
And I also have
Okay.
the approval resolution for the easement and for the memorandum of understanding.
okay,
And all of those things are going to be, given one more look at tomorrow afternoon. And when the whole group's going to meet, to make sure we're good to go with the press release and the MOU, which Susan Brock, the attorney for Ithaca,
okay.
is reviewing.
So that'll be like on our website tomorrow or the next day?
Well, shortly after we could put,
Well,
put all that stuff,
Because there's a public hearing scheduled. We
Yes,
shouldn't
yes.
even really schedule the public hearing unless that stuff is available.
right,
So,
schedule the meeting, but, well, as long as it's available to the public in time for appropriate notice before the meeting, which is 5 days, which we're good.
And the highway, didn't Laura send out the auction list? She sent out an auction list.
Did you?
Yeah,
You privileged
have it.
communication with Leslie Carter?
no, it was in email.
What was the second item we just added? Business. Started to write it down, but then.
Corner lot.
Oh, right.
Corner lot isn't,
Right.
a bit restaurants, it was restaurants. or
Yeah.
businesses.
Yeah, the corner lot requirement.
All right, and then-
I see something from Laura about the auction.
Yeah,
Do you want me to add that?
probably should, I think,
That's what, a communication or?
there it is. Well, she's got a resolution.
Resolution.
Approval by the town board to send unused items to the highway, and then a list of items that we are supposed to approve.
Oh,
So,
how come they didn't get you?
well, I mean, it was maybe an hour and a half ago.
Oh,
No, I didn't look.
I didn't look.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Anyway.
that should be added too.
Yeah,
So-
I can
so-
pass it
So
around.
there's an approval resolution.
Highway auction of items from highway.
Mhm.
Is that it?
So good. You got that.
I think that's it. Mistake already? I made a mistake already.
Okay. So, ready for privilege floor.
Thank you. Thank you for watching out for me. I know lots of people watching out for me.
Rhonda has her hand up. Rhonda.
What's April that much?
I just wanted to say that I haven't been able to get the agenda on Chrome, Edge, or Firefox.
That's interesting.
It was sent to me by Ted. Thank you, Ted.
Yeah, it's right there on the website.
No, it's not there. It is not there.
I couldn't. On the page, the website page, I couldn't find it either, and the calendar. I
That's
mean,
because I
the
looked
meeting notice and the link were up.
at the agenda was not.
I couldn't get it.
Oh,
I didn't read it.
okay.
So Rhonda, tell me, did you go to the calendar?
I
And
went to the calendar and then I went to the date and I clicked on, just like I usually do.
Meeting and it didn't
And-
take you. It didn't.
And there was nothing, no link there for minutes
for the agenda?
for the agenda, right?
I could
And
Okay,
I've been trying for hours. Hours.
Did you try clicking on the meeting and?
I couldn't find it either. Yeah.
Maybe
Yeah.
refresh?
I refreshed and refreshed. I'm not computer illiterate. I have 2 websites of my own. And I am not computer illiterate.
I could have sworn it was there on the website, but evidently it was not. An oversight. Thanks for bringing it to our attention. Anything else, Rhonda?
No, not for me.
Okay, Ed.
Hi there. Obviously, I was able to get it from the website, but that's just one of those things. There are so many different configurations of browsers and computers that the kind of problem that Rhonda was seeing is not at all impossible. I have 3 comments. First one actually also relates to the website. It was brought to my attention that the meeting IDs and password codes, of course, for the Zoom meetings have been changing. And I would like to encourage the town to make every effort to keep the meeting IDs for the meetings the same all the time, as they have been for many years. It's just a lot more confusing for the public. to keep track of what the current meeting ID is. That was one. Second one, I was reading through the minutes of the previous meeting, and although it's not mentioned in the minutes, I recalled something that I did here. During passage of the previous meeting minutes, one of the board members commented that they were making a distinction between the minutes based on who produced them, and that you would not approve the minutes that were apparently produced by the former clerk. And you know something, I think you should be looking at the contents and not who produces them. It just left me with a taste of, sort of suppressed hostility. And you don't need that. You really don't need that. And continuing down the minutes, I also heard part of the conversation about the park contract. I'd like to start so you have perspective tonight. You have on your agenda approving a contract with the Danby Seniors, which, as you know, is not an organized organization. It has no legal status, and you're willing, well, I don't know that you are, but I assume you're going to be willing to make that without question. During the board discussion that I heard about the park contract, a board member mentioned twice that it was an opinion that the park was operating illegally. Of course, that board member is not a lawyer. The park is not operating illegally and never has been. As I think it was Joel mentioned later in the conversation, the law changed, not the park, and the park is taking steps, has been dealing with that problem. Once again, there's this impression that an outside person might get of some kind of hostility on the part of the board, or at least members of the board. And I think that is ill-becoming to our town to have that. And of course, coming back to the fact that you're approving a contract with something that isn't really an organization, I hope I've said this correct. I'm going to say this correctly. Joel, you had an opinion from the town lawyer that you could make a contract with a criminal as far as you're concerned, as long as the services that are being paid for and the payments are clearly stated. So there's no reason to be criticizing a situation that was not of the park's creation, and which it is working as hard as it can to get done. Thank you.
Gary, you had your hand up. Did your concern get addressed by others?
I did have my hand up, but I just wanted to comment that I had no problem getting the agenda on Chrome right from the website, so.
Good. Of course, when I got it with Edge too. Okay, anybody else? Seeing none. Is there any correspondence?
No.
Okay. And I don't believe there are any announcements either. Right? Announcement? There's an eclipse next week. What? There's an eclipse next week. Oh. Once in a lifetime experience, especially for us. We have the town clerk's report and the code officer's report. We have the minutes of March 18th, which I confess I made some changes to earlier today. Nothing substantive, but if that matters to you, we could postpone approval.
What do
When
you
did you
mean
make
by not
changes?
substantive?
Yeah.
I know it seems like, adding double words or.
A lot of commas.
Yeah. What did she say?
I love
Joel
commas.
likes to add commas. I'm all in favor. It's all good.
If that's all we're talking about, commas, and,
Yeah.
Yes, it was nothing substantive.
No. I move that we approve the March 18th minutes.
I second it.
Did you hear that, Mariah?
I did. Connors,
Yes,
Hanson,
Yes.
Hunter,
yes,
Woodworth,
yes,
Kenyon.
Yes.
Thank you.
Well, thanks for your timely uh, constructing of them. Okay, next move in ARPA decision making. I titled it that way because I just want to make sure that we're making progress towards identifying how we're going to use this money. And we've got a list. Not everything that's on the list is potential ARPA project, even though it's not labeled that way. So a couple things are in process, one of which was getting the solar array looked at to assess its condition and its potential for maintenance issues going forward. There was a consensus, I would say, of the board with Jim Holohan's participation that there was a certain person who was well suited to doing that, who however turned out to be unavailable.
No, he's looking into insurance.
Yeah, that was
His
the issue.
insurance wouldn't cover him
Mhm.
in inspecting some, whatever the indemnities. Can you hear me, by the way?
Only when you're facing the microphone.
if you put it.
It's gonna
on the
look this
other
way, you might
side
want to put
of
the
you.
microphone on the other side.
Yeah.
So, anyway, they're working on that insurance, and from what I understand, is they're going to add that to their insurance policy, and then he'll be able to take a look at the array.
I mean, that's good if it's true. I got a different impression talking to Laura, which was that he doesn't have the insurance, and so we should look to somebody else. And she was going to ask or look into having, and that's why I want to know whether an update, whether it happened or not.
Well, let me just call Dave, find out what
Yeah,
the deal is.
Okay. Yeah,
I have something on my email, my personal email too, that says that's what they're doing. And he doesn't actually do it, his wife does it. So
let's see, where is that on the list? Because it should be on the list. You see anything?
What are you asking?
I'm asking where on the list of possible use of ARPA funds is the acquisition of the solar array, and I don't see it here. You?
At one point, it was
But it's
pretty
quite-
far down.
Yes, I thought it was on there, but I don't see it now.
Was on one list, we've had a few lists.
Yeah, I meant to look back at the other, older list to make sure that everything made it over. That could be, but,
so what,
so anyway,
Well,
solar
we're gonna
array
find out.
acquisition is a possibility. And the update is that Paul's gonna get back in contact with, what's his name?
Dave Tedian,
Dave what? How do you spell it?
Tedeyan.
Yeah, okay.
I think I have that right.
okay, and if he can't do it, or do we have somebody else?
Well, there was a suggestion that, Mauricio Medina might have the requisite skills and be willing.
Right.
I'll ask Dave if he has other names,
Okay,
all right?
Yeah,
okay, because we should get that quick.
well,
We've
exactly.
been talking about it for a year. Not
We
year,
should get
not
the
year.
resolution of whether or not that's gonna happen. If not, we need funds for the other. So do we need, are you uncomfortable with Mauricio's possibility?
No, so long as it's somebody who's qualified.
Yeah,
I was thinking he would be one that we would, because
Who
he
is
had
he?
given his number and Laura talked to him at one point.
yes, right.
Who is it?
Who is he? Well, he was one of the people who ran for board last time, but that is not necessarily an impediment.
That's
to his
not-
being considered.
It has
Yeah,
anything to
that's
do
not
with-
his qualification. His qualification is that he does have he's been doing that solar stuff for years, and I can't say more than that right now because I can't remember well enough. I don't want to.
I'm not sure that that's true, other than saying that that's what he's been doing.
No, it's not.
Didn't he work for Green Star for a while?
Ratio?
Yeah, maybe I'm a little confused by that, but,
Are you sure you're not mixing him up with Karthik, are you?
Well, let's get a hold of
let me
David.
just ask for-
Get a hold of David, see if David has any suggestions.
Yeah.
And the other one is maybe Jim has some more
Yeah, and I'll ask Jim
suggestions.
too.
Yeah,
Okay,
We have
Okay.
resources.
yeah,
so I mean, I would like to be able to say, find somebody and then go
Right.
ahead, so,
Okay,
so that's,
and I will check to see that they're okay with doing these kinds of inspections and even raise the question of insurance, whether we get something clear.
so why don't we do this?
Okay.
I move that we authorize Paul to check out the options and pick a qualified person to do the, inspection and appraisal.
I'll second that.
All right. Okay, Mariah.
I will.
Connor?
Sorry, I'm just gonna say, if possible, to keep Mauricio on that list.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I just want to find out who we,
I know,
where-
since you
where
don't,
his
right, you need to
experience-
find that out before
Right.
you, yes.
Yeah,
And if he's insured.
right. Well,
Right.
may not feel like he needs it, but.
Now, sorry, that was what I wanted to say.
Okay,
Okay,
All right, Connors,
yes,
Hanson,
Yes.
Hunter,
Yes,
Woodworth,
yes,
Gannon?
Yep.
Thank you.
the other thing that something that came up at the last meeting was, I think it was the last meeting, I think maybe it was Paul that mentioned it, it'd be a good idea to ask, say, Highway or the Water District, if they had anything that they wanted to request. Has that happened?
we did.
Okay, so
That's how that's how the hydrant replacement got on the list.
that was a
So the
long
water
time ago.
district-
So that's the only thing that they had?
you know,
Well, there was.
there is
there was
something
one other thing.
more
I couldn't-
from the Water
I can't
District,
remember what the other thing was, you.
at the meeting, at the last meeting.
Yeah.
Yes, there was a guest that talked about the magnesium and they're talking about
yeah,
they might have to, we're getting at the point where those pipes, will need to be investigated. Then there was a grant that they were able to get to start a study. And then that there would be, a potential replacement and that there are some
Of-
grants
of
for, it, but we
pipes.
do need, it could be an ARPA, yes.
For the first time in my memory, it was actually suggested that there might be a limited lifetime
Right.
to the pipes in the system, with which we have had no real problem to date.
Well,
I
that's
thought
what you
we've had
want.
lots of leaks and stuff, no?
Well, there have been occasional leaks.
Yeah.
Almost all of them have been on the surface lines from the mains to the house.
All right,
There's only been a couple of actual breaks in the main.
Hmm.
One was where it crossed the culvert, it was sort of on the
Right.
edge, in a stress point.
okay, so,
But it was observed during the culvert replacement project in West Danby that, they caused leaks both times when they dug up the pipes. And one time said it just touched it with the.
Right.
And it broke.
Right,
So that suggested maybe it's more fragile than we
so
think.
they might have access to grants to help with
Well,
that?
no.
Or
Well, they might.
just they've got a study?
it's just starting with the grant, that contract for I don't remember well enough. I've had a terrible day. I'm sorry. My hair has fly stuff on it. My internet hasn't been working. I'm sorry, but don't
What's
ask
your
me to
hair got
remember
on?
details. I got fly paper stuff stuck in. I can't get it off.
Ooh.
Go gone.
Move on. So don't ask me too many questions.
So-
Okay, so there's a possibility of pipes? I mean,
Well, yeah,
right
but
now,
that's not, I mean, ARPA money won't touch that if it goes that way, but if it were to be identified as a need, we could potentially use, the money for a study of whether they need to be replaced.
I thought they had access to a grant for stuff.
For that study. That's what I understood too, but I don't know whether
Well,
it's
they
happened.
didn't get it, I mean, one would have to apply. So Peter McDonald is looking into what funds are available and what they might be used for. And, you know, how that turns out. I mean, I pointed in the direction of the environmental, what's it called? The EP, Environmental Facilities Corporation has grants for water infrastructure. Whether they could be used for the hydrants was unclear. He's gonna check it out. I attended a couple of.
Okay, so he's gonna check that out?
So we're gonna be waiting
Now?
for them to do a report
Right,
to us.
right,
Right, so at that point, we'll get good, clear information
right,
about what's going on.
right.
So I'm glad that we're informed.
So that's the update, so that's the update on that one.
Well,
There's a couple things that we might conceivably have to fall back on ARPA money for. And the hydrant replacement is one of them, wasn't clear that the available grant money would apply to the hydrant replacement.
And we have 9 more months to use the money.
Yeah, so you're not gonna be doing it for water pipe.
I know, so we're gonna
can't wait.
prioritize our agenda
Right,
very soon.
but we
correct?
could replace the hydrant,
That means it's still on the list, fine.
yeah, right.
Okay,
We could use it to pay for the trail easement acquisition, I think. It's legitimate. Thing upcoming here momentarily. Danby share. Something on the order of $7,000. I'll have that information with the, you know, with the resolution.
That's just the acquisition. What about repair?
Well, repair, is a big money item. We're gonna want to chase grant funding for that.
Grant, we're gonna see if we can get grant money for that. Are
We, in
are we
the Danby
working on
section
that?
has the worst, or perhaps I should say the greatest need for
Right,
repairs.
right.
You
know
got two
that.
big washouts
Yeah.
there.
That would be, construction, but not once it's done right, might not need much repair, but the big job is getting across those two big,
Yeah.
Exactly.
huge, and they're huge.
Right. So, I mean, we could throw all our ARPA money into that if we wanted to do it.
well, we gotta,
But we
we
could
should
start-
decide that we wanna do it first.
Right, exactly.
All right,
So that's,
are we taking a vote on that?
We can't until next week.
not
Until
till,
next week.
We
next
have
week,
to have the public hearing first, and then we can vote on whether we want to take part in it, and then we decide.
Okay,
So it remains on the list for now.
great.
Mhm. But we could pay for the easement acquisition. with
That
that
should
money.
be wonderful.
Do we have any estimates yet on the repair? I mean, they thought they had some a long time ago.
I don't think so. What we do have is, we've got a Design Connect team working on identifying, you know, what needs to be what needs to happen, and make recommendations. But they're focusing primarily on the Burns the Banks section, which is the easy part, because the trail's not in bad shape.
Yeah, right, right.
And at the last meeting with the team, which was last week, they expressed an interest in going as far as mid-off. And I was enthusiastic about that.
Well, we don't know how much it's gonna cost to repair. We need to find out how much it's gonna cost.
It's more than repair.
Right, no, I
that's the
know. Well, maybe it's a different design thing too.
Yeah.
And maybe it does, you know, it's not building humongous bridges. Maybe there's some way to,
Well, you could just
Sort
replace
of-
the culvert that
Well,
was,
yeah,
which
So-
our highway department does all the time.
yeah,
although you're talking big culverts in those.
yeah, they're huge.
I saw it, I don't
Yeah.
know, I've been there.
Yeah.
And have you
Yeah,
seen those big
yeah.
things? It
I've
looks
seen
like
them
more
too.
than a culvert, but I do know that the part on the on the Black Diamond, those things that cross over have to be, in the past, they have to be able to support a fire engine if you have this open.
Yeah.
So that's what I don't know whether that's the same thing for this, but there's a bridge at the Burns Road or a culvert carrying there at Burns Road, whatever, you know, that's been there for years, so
Well, there's a bunch of culverts along the
couldn't
way.
review, those are old too, and they've
Oh,
been
they
there
are.
for a long
So
time.
the
but-
town just did some repairs on their part of that, that walk, yeah. So I will go
Project's
to,
already open, you mean?
I will go to the town of Ithaca, talk to the engineer, find out how much it cost them and what they actually did.
We do have,
I mean, does that sound reasonable?
Yes.
we do have from the town of Ithaca, from their DPW, what the cost has been for maintenance on an annual basis, because part of the memorandum of understanding will be, we're agreeing to have Ithaca's DPW do the maintenance on this trail in proportion to, using the same formula as the acquisition of the easement. And that formula consists of, dividing half of the cost equally among the 4 partners, and then having, and then the other half of the cost, in proportion to the length that's in each municipality. So that leaves Dryden and Ithaca shouldering more of the cost than they would based on the how much of the trail is in their municipality. Dryden is just a little short section. And it leaves Danby, if we did it all on the basis of length, it's not a significant difference for us, interestingly, whether you do it just, splitting it 4 ways, or you do it using this formula that has half of it split 4 ways and the other half based on the length. Caroline would get socked pretty hard if it was all based on that, how much of it is the length, because they've got the way by far the longest section that's in the town of Caroline. But we're proposing to have the memorandum of understanding for maintenance be based on that same formula. So it'd be split, half based on just among the 4 equally, and then the other half based on the trail length.
This is our contract.
Right. This is what will be
The
on the,
contract, it's possibly.
right, exactly. So this is what's going before all 4 towns sometime.
Is the county involved at all?
What's that?
Is the county involved at all?
No, and we've been back and forth on that one too. The county didn't want to be. And then towards the end, there's been something of a change in regard to the legislature. There's a willingness to consider it, but there's not much to be gained by it because they wouldn't be doing the maintenance anyway. But the county doesn't own any trails.
Okay.
Nor does the county have any parks, which is really interesting. The guy pointed this out to me. We're one of the few counties in New York State that doesn't have any county parks. They're all state and municipal.
Okay, so essentially, if we are on board with this, we're gonna be at least $7,000. We don't know if we'll be able to afford
Something like that.
the repairs or
Well, I have an estimate, so I can share that. Based on.
estimate of what?
Of what it costs a mile to maintain.
But the maintenance, so we're talking about repairing the.
Right, we're talking about, once it's been.
But this is the ARPA money, and it has nothing to do with the ARPA money.
Right, no,
So
operations would not be covered by.
But that's why we're talking about the ARPA money, so we're looking at the cost of the repair, which is upfront costs. So that's what we need more.
If
detail.
we have to use that.
And I'll look into it, so we have something
Okay.
definitive to work with.
Okay,
Okay?
If you want to entertain that as possible use of ARPA money.
Well, it's on the list. We want to know whether we want to leave it on the list. I'd leave that on until we know more information. Yes, leave
Well, I
it.
would say what's on the list is the cost of acquisition of the easement, not to repair.
Okay, then I guess we want to.
well, we could acquire it and then have no money to do the repairs.
Right, which is that's the way
But-
it is, so the group, the 4 towns are committed to applying for grant funding in order to do the construction needed to make this trail happen. And then once it's in place,
So there's state money for this.
well, there's actually quite a bit of federal and state money available for trail development. It is a question at the moment, where might grant funding come from? Well, we'll see. So the game plan at the moment is to do Burns to Banks. Because that can be done without, there's no significant repairs in that section.
Right.
The next section from Burns, isn't it?
No, thanks to,
God, forgive me.
No,
I thought,
Thanks to Middle.
thanks to Mid-August.
the Banks the second one?
It's Burns and Banks, is
Is
one
it
okay?
Burns at the north end or Bank?
It's Burns to
Burns is
Banks,
nice.
Burns
and
is at the
then
north.
Banks to
To Mid-O.
Mid-O.
Yeah.
Okay, I had it backwards.
And Mid-O.
Mixed up.
I think it's right where, Caroline starts, right?
At Banks.
Close.
Mid-O.
Actually,
Well, Mid-O maybe, yeah.
Banks, yeah, Caroline starts just before you get to Meadow,
Right,
just a little corner.
right.
But then from there all the way to the county line. But that section is the worst one.
Right.
And it
Okay.
requires some substantial funds to fix.
Okay.
Well, the part you left out in the earlier part of this discussion was that, there are other funds, and the other thing that's not mentioned is that a lot of trails do these, Friends of Trails and
Right.
fun things that, there's lots of people want this.
Yeah.
And there may be
And there
lots
are
of
some
people.
who don't.
Well, yeah.
Well,
There
some
are inevitably
don't,
some,
but
yeah.
they,
I don't think there are a large portion of the population
Right.
that are alongside the pathway.
Well, for better.
But they're there,
They're only,
and they're very
they're only,
vocal.
that was a few years ago that we heard most of that.
yeah, there are only 8 properties in Danby that is about the right of way. There's a lot more in Caroline. And a lot of the opposition that was
Okay, I
manifested
think you've beaten this.
years ago.
Of course.
was in Caroline. Okay, so paying for the easement acquisition is a legitimate use of ARPA money. Oh, there they are. It's the third on the list, investigate purchase of solar arrays. We're not gonna do anything in the next 9 months on senior housing. I don't know about water and sewer.
No, we're not gonna be doing anything.
We're not gonna be putting them in,
No.
for sure. We could conceivably use money to fund the engineering.
I mean, that's another thing, maybe that's another thing we could, with maybe grants for those sorts of things.
Well, certainly, we'd be looking for a grant for installing it. We actually did something, but it's gonna be a while, because we have to
Yeah.
see what kind of a community
Yeah,
support there is for doing anything.
Right,
yeah,
And then that will take a while, and then it'll be too late to really do
right,
anything.
but it won't fit in the ARPA thing.
Yeah, probably not. We did the staff and process, but what could be done here is the codification, which is done in the software. If we wanted to spring for it, that would be a good use of that money.
I like it. Somebody else.
it's, I mean, it's, there's,
Mariah likes it.
it costs a lot of money,
Yeah, but
not just getting into
well,
it,
you
it
do
costs a
have
lot of
the
money.
annual update.
Every change, everything you add, every change you make, that costs, I mean, I'll get the guy I have contact with him. He calls me once in a while and leaves a message,
Okay, why don't we,
but
you wanna look into what it would cost to do it?
I'll look into the cost of that.
Okay, that's the action. of
Right.
that week.
That's great.
Okay, yeah, I'm not necessarily in favor of it, but that's okay.
Apologize. Leslie, what are you looking into?
Once. Huh?
You wanna comment, Mariah?
We looked into it once.
No, what is she looking into?
The
Cost of the
codifying our laws.
code. Notification.
Steve,
Talk to me
Eliza.
about that when you get a chance.
What's that?
What?
I have some information. I'd like to talk to you when you get a chance about
Okay.
codifying.
Right, we got some information. Okay.
Because he just called me again last week.
How'd you get it? How'd you get it?
I forget, huh? You what?
So, I mean, if we want to, we could easily dump $300,000 into the highway department, no sweat.
Well,
$300,000 is in that pot.
well, there were, I mean, did we ask highway for a list of things?
Yes, and you know what, sorry guys, I do have that, I don't think I sent it along, Mariah, for your stuff, we do have that list. And I think thought I sent it off to you, but looking at it just, today even and finding, "Ugh, I don't think this made it," but we do have a list.
Right.
Well, it'd be good
And-
to have it so we could share it. and
Well, I
think
mean,
about
we've
it.
heard things,
Absolutely, we'll get it to you, and I'll send it around to all of you.
Okay, good.
how much, it was pieces of equipment mainly, right?
There were pieces of equipment, there was, getting onto that, meter system for our fuel,
Tank,
for our
Oh,
fuel.
right.
It's a computerized system for calculating the fuel usage, et cetera. That's
Right.
around 10,000. Then there were just some other smaller things as well. Maybe a couple of projects I think he had on there. I'm not totally remembering, but a couple of different projects. And then, of course, some of our bigger items of equipment we have on there too.
Right, yeah.
I'll make sure you have that first thing in the morning. I came back from vacation, was so busy today, and I was going to send it right out, and it kind of got away from me. So, and of course, this thing with have you guys mentioned or talked about the solar array?
right, we talked about that.
Gotcha.
Paul's gonna look to, Paul's gonna check out the options.
Gotcha.
Good to have you back, Laura.
Okay, so,
Thank
so,
Me too.
so we'll get a list from the highway, to think about. There's a bunch of stuff in town hall, and that's where I got it on the agenda later on to create a committee. Because we really ought to look at the big picture and what are the things that you're doing and what are the costs associated with it. So we could probably punt to that
Yes.
point in the agenda.
Could you, make a list and send it to each of us of what you're considering?
It's pretty much on here.
But
It's pretty much on this list.
on your,
Yeah, there's a couple things that are missing, but like the the things that are part of the beautification. Right?
Would you
Right.
like me to put the list on the, would you like me to put the list up?
yeah,
What list?
that list that you're.
Oh,
I'll talk to him before we leave.
I thought that list was already linked to the agenda.
It was.
It is.
I mean. the
Can you see it?
ADA Yeah, thanks. The ADA compliant issue, I mean, have we beaten that one with a stick as far as cost, as far as
No,
options for that door and options for there?
no, we have not. Yet.
So what do we need to do to beat that?
Let's talk about that in the 3.3.
Has to do with the ADA compliance for town hall, not for just general maintenance.
Yeah.
We've been talking, I mean, this has been on the list.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, I can tell you where we are.
he wanted
There was there's a couple of questions. There were questions raised about whether or not the proposal that for out here, I had a proposal, whether they were compliant themselves. And then there's also the question of whether or not what it would cost to do it if we did it out front here instead. The question there was whether or not we had room for the essentially 3 parking spaces, because we had this requirement that there be one of the spaces. We need 2, minimum 2 spaces, handicap spaces for this facility. One of them has to be van accessible. To be van accessible, there's got to be an aisle next to the parking space. So that means that the minimum way you can meet that compliance requirement is if you do what I proposed here, which is to say 24 feet wide, because you 2 parking spaces in the aisle in between. Putting those 3 out here, I had Zach look and see whether it would it would be really tight, but conceivably you could just do it. So that's a consideration.
how many plates?
It's effectively 3 spaces.
3 or 2?
3 8 feet. Well, see, the aisle is as wide as the
It's a
space.
visual. the space between, out here by the charging
Right.
station, that space is the amount of space you need
Without the bench.
without a bench.
Yeah,
I
Two
think-
cars and a space in between for the doors to open and the wheelchair to go.
yeah,
So
so it's
Right,
it's a
so
aisle.
two,
spaces.
okay,
Yeah, so the spaces could be 8 feet wide, and the aisle needs to be 8 feet wide, so you've got, 24 feet total. And what we had out here before was just two spaces, which is more like 16 feet, so there's a question whether or not you could squeeze 24 feet in there. And
so there could be one space there and one space somewhere else, that would be an option.
Yeah.
it would, as long as if you have an accessible pathway from wherever the other space is to the entry, which has got, if you exceed, 5 inches and 12, it's a ramp and not a pathway.
So let me just get back to.
So anyway, so that's why Wake Committee is,
Something that Jolie mentioned the other day is that I thought this would be a great idea to actuate these things. And I did get a cost, and I also had someone working on it in town for, to find out what all the pieces are gonna cost to do it. But it seems as if we shouldn't necessarily separate the handicapped and those who need assistance to come in a secondary entrance to the building. So
I know what that's
the
all
idea
about.
is that to keep them there at the primary entrance, so they don't feel as if they're being shunted off
Right.
to another location.
Right,
In that case, I'm assuming we're keeping the charging station where it is.
no, we didn't assume that.
So if we don't, we got plenty of room to put
Mhm.
parking spaces across right here.
Mhm.
Because obviously, anyone who wants to park here can also go around to the back. So we create the 3 spaces here, 24, actually 23 feet across, 9 feet deep. And they'd be easy just by painting the lines on the existing asphalt.
Are you saying on this side, on the building side of the
No,
parking
the
lot?
other
or-
side.
Just like you're saying, you could put the parking spaces across.
Right
Alright.
across from the park.
Is that?
Where it is
ADA?
now.
I understand.
There is one
I'm
there
asking a
that-
question.
There's one there now, right?
It is legal to make them ride the wheelchair across the parking
As
lot.
long
That's
as
all
it's
I'm
not,
asking.
as long as it's not too steep. So
Yeah.
if you park downhill, it wouldn't be compliant, but directly across.
Okay,
probably
that's all I was
make it
asking.
work.
Gotcha.
So anyway, that's one of the reasons I'm not proposing we have a committee, but, we'll get to that in a bit. So anyway, there's a bunch of other stuff at the town hall, like dealing with security issues. We still haven't resolved how to make the clerk's, office more secure.
The clerk and the code
That's exactly in the code.
and the planner.
Yeah. And, the cameras and, and then there's a storage issue for our records. How do we address it?
The door. It's the hinge on the door.
Yes, yeah. Right, anyway, a bunch of stuff. Not on here is the potential to acquire property for community centers. Given that it's become, is it really clear that we can't use the property across the way? We need, somebody said, I don't remember who, that the delineation of wetlands, which was done over there, made it clear that there wasn't enough land outside, dry land, so to speak, to do it. I'd like to have that confirmed.
Good idea.
And if not, then we gotta be looking to where else. Zach, who's here, spoke to, well, he didn't speak to anybody yet, but he was looking to talk to Chris Muker or the owner of record for the property next door. But he hasn't had luck getting a hold of him yet. Maybe you have contact information for this.
Yeah, well. I let Zach try to get hold of him because he's very hard to get hold of.
Mhm.
And if
Do you have any
he wants
contacts?
to talk to you, he'll show up.
Yes, yeah,
And, you could open the door, we could open the door and have him come and meet with us, but it's really always on his schedule. So,
But we got, but Zach wasn't having any luck trying to find contact information for the owner of record.
oh, so he's not, okay, so
He's not the one that the
He works
assessment
for-
department has.
Yes. the guy who works for the, what's his name?
For Chris,
Bert Muka
yeah,
is the one, the owner of record for that
Right.
property.
right.
So you, again, you're gonna have to go through Muka to get to him.
Mhm.
And really, I would imagine it's Muka who's gonna make the decision.
Mm-hmm.
So, we can try to work with them.
Yeah, we could
I
try.
mean,
I mean, why not?
okay, I'll try to get all of them.
We can work with Jack on that. That too could be part of the building and grounds committee focus, because it's right next door.
Right, we don't, I mean, let me just work as an agent to get things done,
Mhm.
which is
Yeah.
what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to clear some of this stuff out, so then the committee can like review it.
Sure,
And then they decide.
right.
And it'd be that, if we want to put a committee between the town board and
Well, I
this,
mean,
that's
Not really
great.
sure about
They,
that.
what the committee would do what we're doing right now, which is to say, identify a need and then find somebody to pursue it, which we don't always have time to do at these meetings, but, you know.
What were you gonna say, Leslie?
I don't know. I think, you know, I mean, one, you've got it on the agenda for later in the meeting.
Yep.
You know,
It seems like we have the list
if we can
completed.
just get
so we
people
need to
to
move
take
on.
on certain things, I guess,
Yeah, right.
if
So are there,
you aren't gonna do it.
another
well,
question,
Other people will do it.
are there things that ought to be on this list that would be good use for ARPA funds that aren't yet? Or is this going to suffice?
The one thing that most people want is internet, and the county is moving forward. So we need to make that clear whenever we say, are there things people want? And that the county actually is
Yeah.
moving forward.
One thing we might do on the internet is.
How much is it gonna cost us? I mean, that's the other,
Well, that's, though I can report on that, because it's coming up, on Wednesday. And I think I shared this communication with you, but
It said item 9, which had practically nothing on it. So
well, let's click the link.
it's
The link, takes you to the resolution before the committee, which reports that,
That's at the county committee.
yeah.
Yeah.
I forget whether it's, which committee it is, Housing and Economic Development.
go forward with what the,
Anyway, you recall the process was that they hired this company to identify where the unserved places are and to work up options for dealing with it. And they opted for, putting out a request for proposals from whomever to extend the existing lines to serve the unmet, unserved customers, all of them. And they got proposals back from I think 4 different potential doers of it. One was from Point Broadband, one was from Spectrum, or
Time Warner.
it's not Time, it's neither Time Warner or Spectrum anymore. The parent company is, I forget what it's called, but anyway, yeah, basically.
Yeah.
And one from,
Properly.
I think Hinkley was one of them, and also Driving Fiber, the municipal.
Right.
What's going to go before the committee on Wednesday is a proposal that they 2 things, that they spend $100,000 to fund Point Broadband's costing out, their proposal. And what they're proposing is that Point Broadband do it, all of it, because this was the lowest bid. So that's going to be discussed in committee on Wednesday, and presumably a recommendation to the legislature will come out of that. I don't know what the timeline is associated with the implementation of that. But it's, they're looking to do it in real time, but I'm guessing, 1 or 2 years.
Right.
In the meantime, we have an issue here in Danby that we could address with an interim solution. It would cost thousands of dollars to run fiber to the fire department. And we, the town, have an issue with our code officer and a new water district clerk not having a decent internet connection at their house. And if the administration of the water district ends up being at their house, because as it has in the past, it's always been when whoever's doing it's been at their house, we could use a relatively modest amount of the ARPA money to equip them with the Starlink connection, and use that as compared to running fiber, it's cheap.
My understanding is they don't want that.
Who doesn't?
The code person in Merrill don't want that at the house. They don't want Starlink.
I thought Steve wanted it.
Did he hear?
No.
I don't think so, but the other, Drew also said that there's something that's pretty easy, and again, I don't have any of that because I wasn't prepared for that.
Yeah.
But there are ways. But yeah, we have to do, the other part of that problem is whether or not anything's gonna happen with the fire district or the fire. They may have to build more space at the pump house, in which case there could be an office and there's the internet and the phone and the office.
Well, the thing is
It doesn't solve Steve's problem.
well, the problem is the pump house doesn't have internet connection either.
Is it not able, I mean.
No, I mean, that's the problem with the fire hall too. There's not a decent internet connection.
Seems to me the fire hall should have that.
I do too. You know, if it not for the objection of the fire district to what was proposed by the water committee
For that space.
for that space, it was proposed that the water district share space in the fire hall for the office, so they could do the office. The fire district attorney advised against it. And I was just talking to Twinkle Griggs about that. She's one of the commissioners. To get a better understanding why we thought it was a problem. It had to do with the, providing access to their, locked office space from non-fire department personnel.
But they're all fire
Well, they
department.
are
personnel.
now,
I
but the
know.
agreement with the town is for whoever's doing it, and it isn't necessarily gonna be a
Well,
fire department.
things can be changed when they're not. I mean,
Yeah, I mean, it could, well, so anyway, if that's the problem.
Is now.
Yeah, well, yes, and we could, but again, it doesn't get you, so if that were to be shared space, then there would be a cause for joint action to get an internet connection
Right.
there, at least on an interim basis, and we could share the cost of a Starlink connection. So the fire district did look into running fiber, from the main highway. It told me it's there, at Scott Wentz house down, across the street, so to speak. From there to the fire hall was going to cost them thousands of dollars to run the internet cable in. The county will pay for that, through this extension to point broadband, but not for a year or two. But an interim solution would have been to share the cost for Starlink connection. But you can't do it if you're not sharing the space. So it's going to be on them to deal with that issue. But we could do it for Steve and Merrill. Steve was interested, I thought. And he's going to talk to Merrill about it.
Yeah, I didn't get that impression, but that can still be talked about.
Yeah.
And Cliff Drew told me there's something that could be done that was pretty easy, but I,
Well, I like that, curious to know.
okay, well, we need to ask him. I can ask him.
So how many feet is it from the highway to the fire department? Is it more than 300 feet?
Yeah, a lot more. It's,
Pretty long road.
it's more like a quarter of a mile.
There might be another solution.
Well, that's what Captain
If you
suggested.
have ideas. we
Well,
can
just
talk it
that,
through.
I think with NICEAG, you get to have another pole up the road. And is there another pole up the road yet? On there?
Well, they do have power there, so,
They have to have the NICEAG pole.
right,
And so Time Water is out there on the highway already?
yeah.
So they would go halfway, and they would probably go halfway for some distance. And then you can run cable, I mean, you can run it on the ground. if you had to just, as a temporary solution, until the county came up with their, you know,
Running it underground would not be trivial there because the road's paved and so is the parking lot.
Yeah, that's
Right,
more,
we could-
much more expensive underground, but if there's a pool, we can run it.
Again, even taking a ditch and throwing it in a ditch with pipe if that was necessary, but it's not necessary. I mean, believe it or not, they changed the cable that I had originally at my place with another cable, and they're so lame about what they were doing. Mine was 2 feet down, now they have places where it runs above the ground. I mean, it's
It's
not,
pretty lame, all right.
so I'm sure there's a way to do it fairly cheaply if we care to do it. And
Well, that's why we're on the list and we're looking into it.
Yeah.
So
It's
we're
not ours to
not a
do
decision
anyway.
tonight.
Right. It's not ours to do anyway
it's the fire department.
with the fire.
They need to make a proposal to you.
Well, it's not to us either unless we can come to agreement about sharing the space. So so the upside of my talk with Crinkle was that really ought to be able to at least have the files there. That was what started all this was, you know, having a place to put the district records, you know, in a file cabinet. Other than instead of having some of them at Todd's house and some of them at Marge's house and some of them now some of them Merrill's house, and so, you know, having a district file cabinet, which we donated the one used to be.
All these sound like really good ideas,
Yeah.
but again, it's not us. It's the fire district, and they need to come up with their own solution and then come to us.
I mean,
if
the
they want
water
to.
Well, water
The
district.
Water
water
district.
district, yeah,
Well,
the water
well, we have,
district
you know,
has a problem.
Yeah, so I will bring it up on Wednesday, that you know, Twinkle talked to me about it, and, you know, if we ought to be able to figure out a way and see whether the committee will recommend to,
So they are asking us for help.
no. You know, it's just that Twinkle's
Okay,
looking,
water.
Water, yeah.
yeah, well, yeah, it's not so much asking for help as, you know, Twinkle is saying, well, surely we can figure out a way to accommodate at least the records in the building, if we can get it, if we could put them someplace else than in a locked office, like in a closet or something, you know, and maybe even in the hall, because it's a locked cabinet after all. So that why does it have to be in a locked office? But that's a thought on her part to go back to her.
Who's doing negotiation with the fire department?
Fire
down there?
district, yeah, Right.
Fire commissioner, fire,
yeah, right.
who's doing that? Twinkle?
Well, I mean, she brought it up. I'll bring it up to the committee that there's this, you know, willingness. The committee would then turn around and ask the fire district to, you know, see if there's a way to accommodate putting the records there at least. You don't want to put them in the pump house because it's a corrosive environment.
Right.
Anyway, those things we're talking about, but that's not going to use any ARPA money. Okay, so let's think of other things. We're done with that. Okay?
Yes.
The seniors contract. This was ready to go. But it requires your authorization for you to sign it. Same thing as last year, and the only thing that's different is the total.
What was the total last year?
I think we gave them $5,000 and they overspent a little bit.
Well, and then we gave more, right?
Well, yeah, that's what I mean. You know, we had
So how much should we give them?
altogether, don't remember. Laura, do you remember how
Tried
much
to
extra money we gave to
Figure out, but I couldn't find
to
last.
the seniors last year when they overspent?
I'm not sure exactly, was it like $500 or something that they overspent by? 200 to 500, but then they came and they asked for more in their budget this year.
Right. And that's.
I can't remember the exact amount that they overspent. Well, it wasn't even that much. It was, I think, just a few $100s.
Yeah, right. And so they asked for more this time, and that's what we appropriated in the budget. But, you know, we can't disperse money without an agreement.
Right.
Right.
They are an organization. They're not a 501c3, but they are an organization. And we can disperse money to an organization, whether it's a legal entity or not. but only by agreement with the work from the controller's office.
Did they do one last year for us, an agreement last year?
What about last year's agreement?
Did they do one last year?
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
And this is exactly the same agreement, except that, except for the amount in the, Schedule A, whatever. And unlike other agreements where the board gave me authorization to just go ahead and, you know, sign future agreements, that was the case with the, municipal insurance consortium. Most of our, you know, I need authorization.
I move we authorize the supervisor to sign the agreement with
I
the senior
second it.
association.
For this. Okay, Ryan?
Connors,
Yes,
Hanson,
Yes,
Hunter,
Yes.
Woodworth,
Yes,
Gagnon.
Yes.
Thank you.
There's a bunch of stuff that is associated with the building and the grounds. And it seems to me that there's enough stuff that it would be good to have a committee focus on it to move things forward. This was talked about in the staff meeting last week. And it was proposed that, well, wasn't this much proposed. Mariah volunteered to be part of the committee. Zach was thought to be a good member of that committee. And I spoke with him today, as he was away at the time, and he's willing to be part of the committee. And then I think it should be anybody else who wants to be part of the committee, which I certainly do, but any or all of us could be part of it as well.
I do not want to be.
Okay,
I do.
yeah. All the.
I mean, maybe that's a big enough, you know, staff and maintenance person and a board member, maybe that's enough for a committee to be able to function without, and if help is needed,
Yeah, sure,
Yeah.
of course, right.
Okay.
Outreach is.
So just to be clear, the idea is to come up with a list, a prioritized list
costs,
and cost
Right,
of what
and then
we
bring,
propose.
priorities.
yes,
Yes,
well,
priority and cost.
bring options back to the board for selection, basically.
Right,
And their priority, that's what they're working on.
right.
Right.
That's what the committee's gonna do, is
Right.
pick number 1, 2, and 3, and get a cost, okay?
Yeah. So the proposal is to create that committee consisting of Paul, me, Zach.
I mean, I don't know if we need to have two board members
I
in
don't know.
there. I mean,
I want to be,
I- well, the board is gonna be approving anything that they do.
this is true.
Let it go.
I know, we need to have things get done.
Well, I think I'm being way.
Oh,
It-
yeah.
I think we have, what we're talking about right now, is two people with really strong ideas about what they want.
Which is good.
Uh.
To be on the same committee and work it out.
How about we give you a deadline? And if it doesn't work out, then we change the committee.
Sounds fine to me.
Sure. I mean, my intention, in this committee is that we do
Actually,
things.
Joe and I aren't that far apart.
You're not?
No,
Okay.
I'm negotiating with them.
I think-
Okay,
yeah.
that's good.
And I think that, you know, we want to do this. The reason for doing it is to move things along, because
Well-
we have to get to the point
Well,
of,
maybe Mariah and Zach, the new people, will help to move things
I'm
along.
sure they will.
So,
Yeah.
that's,
So just as a question to the board, you've seen the drawings, some of the drawings, the idea of a center ramp going down to the parking lot. Does anybody have any objections to that?
the last I've heard I mean, I would want to see a comparison between that idea, and I know Zach had some ideas where, you know, making the ramp that's currently there correct, and building on top of that instead of, you know, demolishing that whole center area.
Right.
there may be some way to do it, just by building on top of the current ramp.
Okay, I'll do that.
And, you know,
I've talked to him about it too.
thank you.
Yeah,
So-
and we can
just
work
sounds-
that
I don't
out.
have a strong
Easy.
feeling about that
Right.
one or the other one.
Right.
But if the board decides, the majority, that they want one or the other, then I'm more than willing to go along with it.
Would
We'll
be-
make a presentation that includes both.
The only thing that I have any interest at all in is will it really, whatever we do has to have, I understood, a bigger flat place than we currently have.
Correct, and it's
And
not
so
flat.
to do, yeah,
Yeah.
and then to do whatever that makes sense, so as long as we, in a most reasonable way.
Right,
Yeah.
my thinking as well.
Cool. Other than that, I leave it to the people who know better than I do, what you know.
But did we make a motion and second it?
Oh,
No or yes?
no, we did not.
Okay, so I move we create the committee, consisting of the four of us, which is to say me, Paul, Zach, and Mariah, to focus on buildings and grounds. Anybody want a second?
Second.
Want to talk about, any further discussion?
I would like to have the committee be 3 people. And I feel like 1 board member is enough.
I think it's important to both of us, yeah, because we can work, we can
That's
work.
all.
we can
Okay.
work out.
So I'm only one vote.
Let's go back to the other
Only
thing.
one person.
There are only two options, as far as I see. There's a center ramp thing.
No. This is the entire committee. We're talking about, the committee isn't making that decision only.
No.
It's looking at a whole lot of other
No,
stuff.
it's a committee that's gonna.
Oh, do
let's
all the
look
other
at-
things.
It's all,
Yeah,
yeah,
building and
it's
grounds.
not
I
just
mean,
that
Maybe
issue.
it'll involve the skate, the skateboard thing,
Yeah.
so it's,
Yeah, got more things to talk about.
I think it's fine having 4 people on the committee because it's not, I don't think we need to worry in this case, short-term committee about having an odd number for voting.
I'm not
And if
thinking about
there's,
voting.
and if there's an issue coming back, bring them both.
They'll come to the board.
Yeah.
That's right.
Right.
So it's not a
Committees
problem.
don't make decisions, they just make recommendations.
Just don't forget, if you're broadening it that far, don't forget the part that Leslie suggested about the parking lot, and I
Yeah.
totally agree, we can't, every time I back in, if I back in at the top, I have to make sure I don't back in too far.
By the way, the easy, if they put a curb in, yeah, I'll stop that.
Yeah, but it goes like this at the end, yeah.
We do it, we
The
have,
top,
we need to fill the hole in too.
There is a curve there.
Yeah.
The road
Yeah, it's
side.
too high.
Well, let's just see what
Yeah.
if we get any money from the beautification committee or funds.
Yes, it's not gonna fix the parking lot, so we have to address that, but then I want to look at it in the big picture. Anyway, so, ready?
Yes. Connors,
No,
Hanson,
Yes.
Hunter,
okay,
Woodworth,
Yes,
Gagnon. Gagnon?
Yeah.
Gagnon, did you answer? Yes. Okay, thank you.
Sorry. Declaration of lead agency, we have we need to do that in conjunction with the, zoning change. I know the draft resolution. It's not in front of me, but, right prepared. Yeah. I might just move.
oh, I wanna move it?
Sure.
No, but. And I'm not good at moving motions, I'm telling you, I think it's a bad day.
I'll move, that, the town board is declared lead agency for secret. In amending the local law number 1 of 2022 pertaining to signage and related lighting.
And Pat seconded. Any discussion? Pretty straightforward.
I
Okay,
apologize. Who seconded that?
Pat did. Leslie
I'm
made the
sorry?
motion, seconded.
I did, Pat.
And we are ready.
Okay, Connors,
Yes,
Hanson,
Yes.
Hunter,
Yes.
Woodworth,
Yes,
Gagnon. Gagnon,
Yes,
thank you.
so I have to speak louder when I say
You
yes,
gotta speak louder,
period,
period,
yes.
and not mumble. Sorry.
This is on corner lots. Do we want to make this a freestanding amendment?
Well, I think we need to ask Greg to draft and.
Sure, I
amend it.
mean, if we
I mean,
want to.
the planning board would like the town board to do this, and,
I think the town board wants the
think-
town board to do.
well,
it.
I don't, I'm talking about the planning board at the last meeting
Did they?
expressed an interest in having this be changed.
They do.
So I think we should, whether we want it or not, we should respond to that and
Can-
ask Greg
can
to
we just-
draft.
can we just ask Greg to draft one
Yeah.
for the next
Yeah,
meeting?
we can.
Yeah.
Yeah, if we want to make a, you know, if you want to run this through by itself, that'd be my question. I would want to run this through as a separate item, just like we did with the sign. We could make it a freestanding
Yeah, let him bring
Yeah.
something next week,
Right.
meeting.
meeting.
I move that we have Greg. I better get into
You will.
this, right?
Go ahead.
That we have Greg draft a change to the corner lots.
Required.
Basically
Yeah.
deleting it.
Delete, yeah.
To delete.
Second.
That was
Right.
Leslie?
No,
Yes.
It
Yeah.
was Paul.
Well,
who
Paul and then,
moved
yeah.
it. And who seconded it?
I did.
We already-
That's
she's
what
already
she was
got that.
asking.
Yes, we already told her.
We ready?
Yep.
Connors,
Yes,
Hanson,
Yes.
Hunter,
Yes.
Woodworth,
Yes,
Gagnon.
Yes.
Thank you.
welcome.
do we do the highway items?
Yeah.
Does somebody have those and can read them off?
There's,
I
um,
don't have it.
Item. Yeah, if you got that.
let's see, to resolve to, for the town board to approve to send unused items to auction from the highway department. And the list, I mean, I could pass it around, it's,
Why don't you just read it?
some binders, tire chains, heat pump, heat pump and stainless electric motor, signs, sign stands, belts, doors, Goodall parts washer, fire engine pump, tire jack, takeoff tires, three of them, wheels and tires, stainless steel airflow spreader, John Deere sickle parts, lane line steam pressure washer, post pounder, some road signs, Honda pumps, truck tires, rebar caps, Mutual Industries, rebar caps, one-man brake leader. I've done that. Various truck rims, chairs, and pieces to a dump truck tarp system.
Did you make a motion or
I made the motion that we
do that?
approve sending these items.
Yeah.
to auction.
Second,
I'm kind of curious about some of those items, why we were getting rid of them, but,
A lot of them are really old, Joel, if you don't mind.
we have newer versions and that's why we're getting rid of them?
Yes, there are newer versions. A lot of them are so old that they're from back in like the beginning of Bill Hall's time. There's just stuff that's been stored in there for years, and then we're just doing house cleaning, and Keith's going through. He's gone through all of this stuff. If there was ever a possible use for any of it, you know, for us anyway. This heat pump thing that you're talking about, that was something, and stainless electric motor from long time ago from an old boiler system or something that we had in there. But there's a lot of, you know, all of this stuff. It's been stored around for a long time. But some people will buy it. Somebody will go up and buy it. Like even like I'd mentioned it in the email, the 17 chairs. There's just chairs that have accumulated over there. Maybe something that they had years and years and years ago, even in the old shop that we used to have. Some of them are even rusty and things. You can put them up there and people will have a use for that type of stuff and buy it. like, put it in there. So a lot of that, all of it's been looked at. I don't really know what else to say about it, I don't think that he's putting up there anything that's we're gonna use, that it would, a possibility of using on something that we currently have, but it's real old stuff.
I think we need to be sure that, and understand that the highway department is carefully looking at this stuff and is not going to get rid of something they need. So let's vote.
I trust Keith Gretchen. I mean, he's really good at,
Yes, he's really been really good at really examining all of this stuff.
and
Definitely an idea person. So if there was anything that it could possibly be useful for us, he'd come up with it. Him and Jack are both the idea people like
a
that.
lot tidier than I am, going through and pulling all this stuff out, so let's get rid of it.
Yeah.
Good.
Let's vote.
Okay,
Okay, Connors,
Yes,
Hanson,
Yes,
Hunter,
Yes.
Woodworth,
Yes,
Gagnon.
Yeah.
Excellent.
It'll be up there right away. If anybody's interested in going and taking a look at it, the pictures, pictures have been taken of the stuff, everything to go on it. So it's all prepared. So if you want to go up onto Auctions International and create yourself an account, you can go and look at some of this stuff too. And of course, come
you
on.
did on it, right?
What's
thank
that?
you.
he's wondering if he gets a discount.
Oh,
Next item, more roles and responsibilities that I skipped over accidentally. You may recall that some time ago, we, with respect to emails, adopted a policy where if we were going to be responding in the name of the board, we're supposed to run it by, the other members of the board before responding. Give us at least a day to comment or object or suggest changes if they weren't okay with how it was, what was drafted, as opposed to simply responding, which it's awfully tempting to do sometimes. But sometimes it's a little hard to do that because we want the timely response. But I've noticed that beyond that, this as part of our reviewing the roles and responsibilities and doing the organizational chart and stuff, it became pretty clear that the board only has a voice when we act together. I can't speak for the board. Nobody else can either. We only exist as an entity when we're acting together at a meeting. We could probably authorize some, in the name of, if we wanted to, say, so-and-so could speak to the board about something, and we might want to be careful about it. So the reason I bring this up now is both because, well, in part because of in the name of statements that have been made in the town news. Whenever the "we" is used, it's an in the name of statement. Who's a "we"? And this last issue of the town news has an item where it's notes from the town board implying it's in the name of the town board, but none of us is authorized to make statements in the name of the town board without the town board signing on to what's being said. And I don't have any objection to what was said. I'm merely raising the question of how we do these things when we're making statements in the name of, and particularly when something's addressed to the board or said on behalf of the board should be on board with what's being said.
Well, then we should probably treat it the same as that everybody gets a, look
Shot
at
at
it.
it
Yeah.
and wait a day or whatever.
And that is exactly what happened.
Did everybody get a chance to review this before?
I talked to,
Hanson over here.
I talked to Paul about it.
Did you?
And
It's been a long time.
What's that?
Nothing.
Nothing. Really key.
I think, I'm not sure which, well, I
Thanking
think most
everybody.
people, I think most people saw that. I don't know, are you saying you didn't see it?
Yeah, he did see it.
Oh,
I
okay.
did see it. I mean,
Okay.
it was not really run by me as a, you okay with this? It wasn't clear to me that it was part of a process, and it wasn't clear to everybody else,
Okay.
that everybody was asked about it, or had it run by them. But I think that should be the policy.
Yeah. Well, we need to,
I think we
a
should,
couple people need to meet and do up a little checklist for checking validity of things that are said, or making sure the right month is there, things like that. So we can put something together about that. And it could mirror the correspondence policy that says, you're given 24, 48 hours or whatever it is, and if you don't respond, it's an agreement with what you reviewed. I mean, that's basically. Okay,
That would be okay with me.
Okay.
The way of resolving it, so, why don't we formalize it, maybe add it to the, we can go back and, we have a policy, right? We wrote it down someplace.
the correspondence policy?
Well, is that where it is?
Yes.
With regard
That's
to
where that
how-
is.
Deal with the correspondence.
Yeah.
Of course.
Maybe that's not the right place for it.
Well, I mean, it mirrors, it's response.
Yeah.
It's the correspondence policy, and it's the response part.
Yeah.
Who gets to respond.
For some of it's not a response so much.
Well, it's, I mean, it's sort of related. I mean, it's,
Yeah. So, what I'd like it to be basically
So-
saying,
so that's
when speaking in the name of,
right,
the board, or anybody else for that matter, and if it's gonna be in the name of, for a group, the group, whatever it is, should be in agreement. That, something being said in their name.
since this is, response, let's see.
Just, okay. So first of all, we're talking about a newsletter, right?
Well, not just the
And,
newsletter.
and
It could be
the-
other things, it could
It could
be,
be-
how independent are they? I mean, that's the question.
what?
This is- A reporter, tries to make sure that his facts are correct,
Yeah,
and that's their responsibility. If they're not correct, there's gonna be a blowback for things that are not correct to that. There'll be a retraction, or, we've had board members that would say, no, and this fact in the next thing, but it's still a newsletter.
Yeah.
So we've given our editor a lot of leeway in writing that newsletter. And so
putting it together.
before we bureaucratically create too much of a hurdle for doing things like this, I have complete faith that those kinds of considerations are being done, and that I'm not sure that we need a formal process to take care of that. This is, I agree that this is, we're blowback. In this case, there's no blowback, is there?
No, but that doesn't mean that the potential doesn't exist.
Well, potential does, but
That's why I mean, we got into this because with the email thing, with
right,
responding to, we get emails from certain people in particular, quite repeatedly. They're often directed to the board. And then if one of us responds without checking the others, you might necessarily, we don't necessarily always agree with what is said in response.
right.
So we established a policy that says, before you respond, you run it by everybody else, so that when you're speaking in the name of, it's one thing to say, I,
As a board
not
member,
personal.
yeah,
I have
I as a,
personal opinion.
I as a board member, I mean, none of us is in a position to, censor somebody's speech. But when we're speaking on behalf of, we're responding for the board or in the name of, it's the in the name of part that we can say we, the we needs to have something behind it besides a presumption of approval.
correct.
That's what.
There are many ways that could be handled. One thing for some items in the newsletter could be, we the editors, or we the
Yes, it could be.
proofreaders, or we the whatever, and then
Right.
mean, there's two things that happened. One, I want to say that a resident of Danby told me that one of the people who was named as appreciated told my neighbor that she was so happy when she saw her name, and that was I'm gonna just say it. It was Joanna Shawley was thrilled to see the thank you in the publication for her time working with Danby.
And I want to be sure that as a policy, we always thank people for their work and welcome new people in.
Yeah, I mean, that's another way of handling this particular thing. As for the dates, it was unfortunate.
That was a
it happened.
mistake.
We just, we
Yeah.
checklist.
As with,
I mean, we
getting changed.
iterations of that
I
newsletter.
know.
There were 8 iterations working
Well, and
on
when,
that. so-
when you have a lot of
I didn't
people,
notice it either.
it's easier to miss things.
Yeah.
So we need a list. Yeah.
Well, new software will make it much better because,
Yes.
this month I actually did make a change at one point. And I never went back and looked at it later copies and the change was not there.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Unfortunately,
Be
it
really
was
nice.
using Zoho again, so I went to all that trouble
Yeah.
and
And didn't
it was a waste of my time.
Oh, well.
Well, thank you for all the work that you do.
Yeah.
And I know from my experiences that you do a lot of checking with people.
Yeah,
So-
yes, I do. I check with lots and lots of people
Yeah.
before anything goes out.
So, yeah, I think it's important that, in the name of statements be,
Yeah.
I think it's important too, and I think that it's being done,
yeah.
so what's the?
I kind of think the
I'm not
idea,
missing the
I
issue here.
agree with Paul that,
We don't need a follow.
no, I don't think, I mean, it's the whole idea of you can't find enough rules to make sure that everything in the world that nobody likes or likes has a rule. The more we try, the worse it gets.
Yeah,
I don't think so.
I think we just need to try and sort of stick with it's not, it's not the correspondence thing, it's the response to correspondence, which is sort of what we're talking about.
Yeah, the response to
That
correspondence.
we, we check with, if things are written, we make sure that people get a chance to see it and either, agree or cry or whatever they do, so, I think we just need to make sure that that's been happening and, we can always do better.
isn't there sort of a bylaws anyway, when you set the thing up, doing the newsletter
Well,
through?
that's a good question. We haven't established for the newsletter yet, guidelines for submission.
I have started making a list to make sure that I keep track of everybody in the town that we give priority to
Yeah.
and putting things. So I have started
You have
that.
some kind of list, yeah.
I do. I have a
Right.
list. Very rough. I will send it around, but I will make it neater before I send it around.
So why don't we wait until she does that, and then you can, if you still have an issue, we can bring it up again.
Which in this case, yeah, it just wasn't clear to me that everybody had
Yeah,
been run by everybody.
Well, maybe
Are you
that's-
okay with it?
Maybe that's where we need to beef it up.
Yeah,
That
be clearer.
when
about-
I see something and then I'm asked my opinion, that I know that, 2 other people have been checked with or something, so. I think that,
Yeah. Again, my concern is only that, in the name of statements.
Right.
We got it.
Have everybody who is
Yeah.
part of the, whoever the we is.
Well, then it's more than
are on
one read.
board with it.
right,
Yeah, regardless of what the action is.
yep,
And that we don't have to have a vote to thank somebody for their work.
yes.
Although we could have a vote, we have done resolutions of appreciation.
well, we
And
can,
it's not good, it's not a bad idea to have them in the record.
no, at the board, instead
It
of
was-
just in the newsletter, we do both.
Yeah, we talked a little bit about this, I talked with Catherine about, we haven't had any kind of formal recognition of Marge, for instance, but she hasn't fully retired yet, so I'm kind of waiting. Todd kind of retired without anything happening. I was kind of waiting, figuring we could do Todd and Marge together, because they were sort of coming up together, but Marge kind of got postponed, so. And when Carl retired, we were in the middle of COVID, same problem we had with Rick. And it was hard to do anything. And the committee wanted to do something, and Carl wasn't willing to risk a public thing. But we could still do it.
I
think
don't,
we should.
I'm a little concerned with having a public gathering for every person who works. I don't know, maybe everybody wants to, but I don't want to have to be always the one that brings certain things and takes them home and washes them. I mean, we have to decide if we're gonna do something like that, how we're doing it. Because
And I think that's independent of thanking somebody.
Yeah,
We don't have to have a party to thank somebody.
no, we don't.
Saying it in words is way more important.
And we've had situations where, people have brought cakes to meetings because it was somebody's last meeting.
Yeah,
It would be nice to recognize people instead of just having people disappear.
right.
I
I think-
agree.
And that happens a lot.
Especially if they're, it's one thing to have somebody who's been doing it for, a year or something.
Well, it's a year of.
But,
That's
Marge
important.
has been doing this for a long time, and Todd did it for a long time.
Right. Well, you could get into qualifying and not qualifying, but I
Right.
think it'd be good to try and recognize everybody in some way. And, if Carl doesn't want to party, he didn't want to party. And neither did Rick, so, but we can certainly say something in meetings or say things in newsletters.
Or do a thank you,
Could be in a newsletter.
plaque or whatever.
Yeah,
Well, there can be a block on the newsletter. I mean, people do this. Eric just showed me a newsletter from his kindergarten class that he's teaching, and it had a little block in it and it had birthdays. And I drove by South Hill Elementary and it said, "Happy birthday, Charlotte" on it. I mean, we could have a block in the newsletter each month that says thank yous and list
Yeah.
people in it too.
That's
That
a
would
good
be
idea.
another way.
that's a good idea.
You don't have
Set that up.
I know what, we can have a huge flashing sign out by the post.
We got one already up there. We
I think we
got
go.
the fire department. We
I
get the
think
fire
we finished rules and responsibilities with this topic.
God, she's always so pushy.
So anyway, we won't formalize that now. And that's it for the agenda. What about next? We have quite a bit of agenda next time already.
Yeah,
Public hearing.
the warrants.
We got we have the warrant,
Karen's.
more minutes maybe. And and there's a couple of items got postponed, and it will be on the agenda as well.
And Greg was,
Like you and Laura's proposal. And there's a couple of others too that I have to try to remember.
Laura and I are getting together
We got
before the
polls
next
that
meeting.
need to be put back on. So
Yeah.
the next time. So, unless we have something specific they want to mention at this time that hasn't been mentioned in the past, I thank everybody for coming, and that's a wrap, as they say. Thank you.
Never mind.
Yeah.
Is that bad?
Yes. Well, no, he's not, but he zoomed in from out of town.
Oh,
Yeah, it's here.
because I
Still
saw
trying to
that.
end the meeting.
Yeah, but here it is.